At the start of the 1980s, the median Australian house price was around $74,000. Adjust that for inflation, and that's the equivalent of about $350,000 today. Back then, men working full-time earned an average of $16,000 a year, and women $12,500. If the family was living on just the man's income, the house cost the equivalent of 4.6 years' wages, or based on the woman's income alone, it was just under 6 years. And if they both worked full-time, it was 2.6 years. Again, adjusted for inflation, and that median house price stayed pretty steady until the early 2000s, when it jumped dramatically. Then it rose more gradually in the 2010s, before spiking again over the past 2 years during the pandemic property boom. So while it took just 2.6 years of a man and woman's combined wages to buy a house in the 80s, that ratio has ballooned to over 8.5 years of total household income today. On the other hand, when mortgage rates went above 17%, those comparatively smaller loans still got pretty expensive. In 1980, average mortgages took 35% of income to repay. A decade later, and home loans were eating up half of all household income. Now it's somewhere in between at 41%. But as interest rates continue to head up, so will the chunk of income home loans take up. And experts say anything above 30% puts you at risk of mortgage stress. And that overall lack of affordability has seen the proportion of people living in a home they own, with or without a mortgage, fall from 71% to 66% in the first 2 decades of the 21st century. That's down to its lowest level since the mid-1950s.